Hey, everybody, Dr. Meri Crouley for Now is the Time. There's a lot going on right now, and I've got Sam Anthony, who actually is just one of my favorite people because he's got the real news. It's your news, right, Sam? And
Yes.
we're excited about talking today about what's really going on and the citizen journalist and what he's building. It's really like the old field of dreams. If we build it, he will come. And he's building something phenomenal. But before we get into what's going on with Sam, let's roll the My Pillow commercial. Mike Lindell is one of another heroes of mine from Minnesota, my home state. And of course, he was taken down off the box stores, and they've so attacked him in the past. And so right now he's got a phenomenal offer right now. Let's roll that commercial, please.
I hear every day about the products you all wish My Pillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard My Pillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use My Pillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all My Pillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard My Pillows absolutely free.
Yes, amen. Well, get you guys, Mike Lindell, mypillow.com, put my promo code Meri, Meri. It's going to be an amazing, you get a great discount and incredible products. So anyway, well, listen, thanks for doing that. So Sam,
Yes.
We haven't talked in a long time. And so I'm so excited to see you back. I mean, there's so much news going on. Like, where do you start?
Oh my God. I listen, I'm in the business and sometimes I get overwhelmed with it. By the way, I just want to show you, I have my Mike Lindell pillow right here. Actually, 2 of them. But yes, I don't know where to start simply because there's so much stuff coming at you. And, my focus is on, as the mainstream media eventually is, going away. What we're doing is we're coming up underneath them, and what I do will actually replace them. So we're building our own news organization on a grassroots level. So that's been my focus. But being on podcasts, I've been on them all day today. I mean, I have to keep up to date with everything. And I have to tell you something. One week, I took not the whole week off, but most of it off. Like it was a holiday week coming up. I think it was Memorial Day. And I took the weekend. And by the end of the week, I felt so much better because I wasn't aggravated. I'm thinking about the job I'm in. You have to listen to all this crap. And whenever you listen to the mainstream media, it does nothing but aggravate you because they're always lying. So, I mean, I'm going off on a tangent here, but it's like, to me, I'm not going to be out of this business for a long time, but I can't wait till they eventually go away because nobody wants to hear it anymore.
I was listening to, some of the sound bites from the G7 summit that President Trump actually had to fly back because of some of the situations going on. But, Jeb Bush was talking about like his dad, how his dad's like the greatest guy that ever lived. And I'm thinking like, are you serious? I mean, I know because I'm, got a film about sex trafficking. I know a lot about what Bush Sr. has done. And even with George W., I mean, the towers coming down. I mean, if people don't know that stuff, it's just because they've been watching legacy media stuff for years and they've been so brainwashed. And, tell a little bit about the history of, your news and what you built and why it's going to be so important to really getting our news this way and from, journalists, citizen journalists.
Yeah. When I started this, it was a long time ago. And me and a couple of guys believed that the newspaper industry, which was the first affected by the internet, was going to eventually be gone because the internet was going to replace it because it's much cheaper to deliver a story via the internet than it is to print millions of papers and deliver them, right? I mean, the distribution process is expensive and the printing process is expensive. So we had set out to build a platform to replace the daily paper in every market. And it's been an evolution, I will tell you, from what we thought was going to happen to where we are today. But I was always one of those people that believed that the mainstream media wasn't lying. Mary, okay, so I was the idiot, the last one, I think. Excuse me, I have a little cold. But when I realized that it was when Trump won in 2016, I didn't even think he was going to win, and I voted for him. But when he, I remember waking up at 3 a.m. because, it looks like he's going to win. He won. I mean, wow. I mean, I didn't even go back to bed. I was so excited. I'm like, what the hell do I need to sleep for? But that's when you realize when they turned on him and they just started manufacturing stuff and the deep state went after him. And, this poor guy didn't even know what the hell he was getting into. And next thing you know, he's just getting hammered from everywhere. And then even when he gets out, they're still trying to bring him down. And that didn't work. So, what I soon realized was that what I'm doing is far bigger and far more important than anything, simply because ultimately it doesn't matter if it's a radio station or if it's print media or if it's magazines, newspaper. It's all eventually going to be gone, and it has nothing to do. And Mary, I say nothing to do with them lying. That just kind of sped up the process a little bit to have people like you and I and your audience, turn away and go the other way. But really, and this is something you probably don't know, Adweek comes out with the cable news numbers for network TV, CNN, ABC, NBC. Numbers were abysmal. You don't even want to know. It was not good. However, this is for first quarter, January, February, March. But the interesting number, the one to me that was really newsworthy, was it's not a secret. The average age of people watching cable news is over 70 years old. 71 or 72 is what the actual number is. And that's why you see all the pharmaceutical ads. Okay. However, the age demographic between 25 to 54, which you need to remember this, okay, because this is a big deal. 25 to 54, which has roughly 120 or 130 million people in that age bracket, which is for advertising purposes. The reason they have an age bracket 25 to 54 is the people that are 25 years old are getting married, they got their job, they're buying houses, they're buying furniture, they're having babies, they're in consumption mode. So they market to them to buy my product kind of thing, right? By the time they're 54 years old, the house should be paid off. The kids are out of school. Next thing you know, problems exist, which I need, pharmaceuticals, right? So that's just how the world works. Well, that age demographic, which represents a massive chunk of the population, you know what the viewership for mainstream media was for networks for 3 months? So you would think, like, when I was talking to somebody yesterday, they said 30 million, which is a lot, but not a lot. It was a little north of 400,000 or 500,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that is the problem for them, not for us. Okay, what that tells you is they're obviously getting information somewhere else. And where is that? It could be on your show, it could be on Rumble, it could be on TikTok, which TikTok has a freaking ton of them. Instagram. The point is, those people are not viewing information like, I'm 60, so my demographic is, watching cable news a little less, but it's the older generation is watching that stuff. So the younger generation is not, and therein lies the problem. So there's always something that replaces something else, no matter what it is. I don't care what it is. If you had the horse and buggy, which was replaced by the automobile, right? You had the telegraph, which was replaced by the telephone. You had the typewriter, which was replaced by the computer. If somebody could create a way to beam you, like on Star Trek, from one place to the other, that would replace the airline industry. There's always something that replaces something. So what we do, and the reason it's important, is because what we do will ultimately replace the legacy media. But the reason it's so important is simply because the media is the reason we're in the mess we're in today. I don't think I'll get any pushback from that from you.
No, well, and also what's replacing everything now is AI. I mean,
Tom Renz and I just had a conversation about that. It's all fake propaganda stuff. But here's the thing: I understand it's replacing and it's easier. It's a tool. But you're never going to see AI walk into the city council meeting or the school board meeting or the high school football game. You still need boots on the ground, because once you get a story, that is completed. And then on the internet, yes, AI could change the story and do whatever it wants. But boots on the ground, real people reporting is the only way it's going to be. And what I am is a network. So on my website, when you log in, we geolocate you like everybody else. So you could live in Chicago, Miami, you could live in Minneapolis, you could live in anywhere. It'll go to that city. So it'll look like the Minneapolis Star Tribune, the Chicago Tribune, the Miami Herald. They all look the same. But the difference is we're in every city in the United States. We are an information aggregator. So we're a platform first. We're not really in the news business. We're in the news distribution business. That's the business we're in, which is basically like Facebook or X for news. But what we have the ability to do is localize content by subject and geography, sports, business, politics, entertainment, that kind of thing. So we can drill down to a specific city. So I could make somebody's Little League game appear in the sports section in one city. If it's a city council meeting, that's politics for one city. If it's the high school football game, that's sports news for the market. And markets are defined by television DMAs. So if you lived in Miami, it would be the Miami DMA, which is how the world works today for network TV stations. And then obviously, if it's Governor DeSantis signs bill into law, that content gets distributed in our politics section, but in the whole state of Florida. And then obviously, if it's tonight's hockey game, I think it's tonight, it's going to be national news in sports. So we distribute information based on geographical relevance. In addition, we have a component where the public can interact and share in the narrative locally, which is what people want. People want to be able to participate in the news. They want to be able to post their kids' Little League game, right? They want to be able to have their kids in print or whatever it is. So the point is we can distribute all this information because we can organize it like a newspaper. We basically took an old model and we updated the tech and we created just a massive engine, which is really their model on steroids. In addition, and this is where I could show you, but I'll just tell you, I have something called LinkedIn Navigator, and it's a little extra piece for LinkedIn. You pay a little extra for it, but it gives you, I could drill down and say, how many freelance journalists are there in Los Angeles or Hennepin County? And then it'll give me just that list. Right down to a city. I could do just Glendale, Arizona if I wanted to. So with that, there's, in terms of people that call themselves freelance, and Meri, I remember when it was less than 50,000 people. There's almost 500,000 people on LinkedIn now that are calling themselves freelancers, which is, I don't have work. Most of them are part of the downsizing of the legacy media. In addition, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of students are coming out of journalism school. Who's going to hire them? You have any idea? Is there anybody in the media industry hiring? Can you name one person that brought on 20 new people, news reporters?
No. And that's why everybody, it seems like everybody has a podcast, everybody in their brother. But, hey, to me, the more the merrier. But what you're doing is you're actually giving people an opportunity as a citizen journalist to come on and, report information. Now explain about, your news, True News. What do they do? It's free, right? For the person, the consumer, like the person that's going to read it. Yeah. Like walk us through, like, where do they go? The website and
it's yournews.com. What they do is they just log in. It geolocates them. If they don't see their city name at the top, they click change location and they enter their zip code. It'll take them to their city. So they're going to be looking at a daily news website, both local and national. And then you read the categories you want. So there's a national tab, and when you mouse over it, you're going to get all the different categories. So if you like auto racing, you click auto racing. If you like hockey, you click hockey. If you like business, so on and so forth. But the thing that makes us unique is we have local news, and we're in the process of building an army of news reporters. So since we last spoke, I've picked up 800 news reporters. That's the key. So I now have 800 people running around covering local news stories all over the United States. We'll have this conversation again by the end of the year. I want it to be 4,000 or 5,000. Okay.
Well, now, do they generate revenue from doing that?
So yes, they do. So here's how it works. It works very similar to YouTube, and everybody understands how the YouTube monetization model works. If you have 100 people that watch your video on YouTube, you're going to make X amount of dollars. If you have 100,000 people, you're going to make a lot more money than the guy that made 100,000, because it's all based on performance. In the advertising world and digital, the customers only pay for performance-based advertising. So what advertisers do is they log in and they could buy an ad and they could target the geography they want, which could be national or it could be a zip code. And then they could target the type of content they want the ad to appear around. So to make it simple, if you sell golf clubs, you want to be around golf content. If you sell pots and pans, you want to be around cooking related content or anything food and wine related. If you sell American flags, you want to be around conservative content. Somebody just bought an ad and it was a patriotic wine ad. And they said they selected all political conservative content, right? So anything that's running, it's going to appear around. The way it works is the content creator who drove the traffic to their own content to read it, we sell the ads for them, and then they get a percentage of that ad revenue. It's simple. So if somebody sells sports stuff, they want to be around anything sports related. If somebody sells, like I said, American flags, anything patriotic. So it just depends on what you're selling.
Wow. So this is amazing, because a lot of people that you're watching, you might be living in, Bloomington, Minnesota, where I grew up, in high school. And so you might want to find what's happening in the area. You also have different things that are happening in local communities, correct?
We have local communities all over the United States that are active and up and running. And what we're doing now is, this is where, remember, this is a big undertaking because there's 20,000 cities in the United States. If I had one person a city, there's 20,000 people. I have 800. That's it. Okay. But 800 is a boatload. Name one company that hired 800 news reporters in the last 6 months. They don't exist. I'm basically coming in behind everybody and picking them up. So
when people are watching, Sam, and they want to get involved as a journalist, that's just one segment of it. Where would they go? How do they get in touch with you?
So just like YouTube, anybody could be a broadcaster, and the cream rises to the top. You could set up, well, if you weren't kicked off of there, which I'm not sure, but anybody go to Rumble, anybody go to YouTube, they create an account and they could start broadcasting. And if the marketplace likes them, they make money. And if they don't, how many YouTube channels have you went to where the last posting was 3 years ago? By the way, it's 114 million. I looked it up, 114 million channels on YouTube. 80% of them are not even active. So just to give you an idea, it's that 80-20 rule. I'm sure it's the same on Rumble. But with us, we've created a technology where anybody can become a local news reporter. And here's the perfect example I'm going to give you. I did a show a couple weeks ago, and Charlie Simons was the show I was on. It was the Do Not Talk show on Rumble. And he called me to ask me if I could come on with somebody. And the woman worked for the government of California. She uncovered things that would be considered criminal in whatever department she was in. And she looked up the statutes to make sure she wasn't making a mistake, and then took it to her boss to say, look, I don't know if you're aware of this, but this is like, you've committed crimes here. So we should really undo all this stuff. And he goes, just turn your head, walk away. Don't even bother with it. So she says, well, that son of a bitch. And she takes it over to the media and says, okay, this is gift wrap for you. Now break the story. And they said, no, thanks. We're not interested in shedding light on this. Okay. So the point, so now she created an account as a citizen journalist, and now she's reporting the information. Here's where we're at today. The legacy media is not here to help. They're not here to uncover crimes that the government, they're actually paid by the government at this point. We already know it through USAID. So what we do is we put the power of the press in the hands of the people. So now if you ever wanted to be a broadcaster, you go to YouTube or Rumble. If you want to be a local news reporter, you could do that on our platform. Okay. That's the cool. Yeah.
Well, let's put up that, so they could just reach out to, let's put up that website again.
Well, I'll tell you where you would do it. You'd go to yournews.com and you scroll to the bottom of the page. And at the bottom, it says become a citizen journalist. And you could click the link and fill out the application. And then that comes into us. And then we look at it to make sure nobody's crazy. And then we activate it and they become a news reporter. And then the other thing she just put up was, the equity crowdfund, which we're doing, which is that. So the reason we're we're doing something like this. Most people don't know what private placements are. I don't know if you're familiar with what they are, but if you're doing a capital raise for movies, you have to do it under some structure. So I would think
PPM, private
placement memorandum. Okay, so you could only sell to accredited investors. Now, by the way, keep in mind, Angel Studio does equity crowd funds. They raise all their capital through equity crowd funds. Now, let me tell you the reason why. For your audience, you have to be an accredited investor, which means that's 1% of the population, which means 99% of you are ruled out of ever participating in anything. It could be the greatest thing on planet Earth. You can't get involved. It all goes to institutional players, which is why we're in the mess we're in today. So those institutions fund it. And then what happens is they bring it to market. It becomes public. Then you can participate. But none of you ever got a call from Silicon Valley saying, I have Amazon or Facebook for $1 or $2. It never happened. Well, right. You get to buy it at $50 when it's public. Yeah. Okay. After it did 3 splits. So what these equity crowd funds allow, and this is the same with Angel Studios, you can raise 1.2 million. So say $1 million, 5 million, and 75 million, and anybody can participate. So you ought to think about this because it's like you're doing this through a brokerage firm. Okay. Because like what you see on the screen there, Issuance Express is owned by North Capital Partners. So it probably costs at least $50,000 to put together. Okay. Like you got lawyers, you got background checks, you got audits, depending on what you're doing. I mean, if it's a movie and it's a new shell company you're raising capital for, you got to find out who Angel Studios is doing it for, because they probably understand that whole thing better, because you're doing a new company with really the audit will probably only be $2,500 because you're auditing nothing. But But now what happens is everybody can participate in the offering. You set the minimum. It could be $100, it could be $1,000, it could be $10,000. It doesn't really matter. So we did ours at $200 because I wanted to make it affordable to everybody. We're selling stock at $2, so it's 100 shares. We just made it even number. So pretty much most people could spend a couple $100 and they could buy stock because you actually get shares in the company. And the reason we're doing it this way is because you have 6 companies that control the legacy media. There's the reason we're in the mess we're in today, is because of the institutional players. And if you look at all the companies like, what is it?
BlackRock and Vanguard.
Well, yeah, but okay. So, Trump Jr. did something with Michael Seifert. What's that called? Public Square, right? They did a SPAC. I think it was $100 million SPAC. Just go look up the institutional ownership. It's all Vanguard owns 38% of that thing. Look up the institutional ownership on Rumble. It's all BlackRock and Vanguard. They own Rumble. Okay, now I don't know what the shares are percentage wise, but it's a monster number. The point is they have all the money, Meri. They're the ones that have all the money. It's when you go to institutional players, because that's been my business for years. It's easier. They need to spend it. They're looking for deals, but they'll have the money, 5, 10, 20 million. It's harder to get people to spend $200 unless you have something that's compelling that drives them and says, look, this is a good idea. So, the Angel Studios thing is they raise capital that way. For us, I wanted to keep institutions out of it. So we decided to do it the hard way. We're at about 1/3 of our goal right now, and want to finish it up by the end of the year and then do another one at a much higher number. But this is the way you do it. Yeah, I'm just telling you this because now it opens you up to the world. So don't get me wrong. You could still get the bigger players, but everybody else could participate.
And so what the email or the address on the screen, they go there and basically they can purchase, part of what would you call it? Stock, or what would you?
Yeah, you buy stock in the company. So it's not like a Give, Send, Go or GoFundMe where you're just giving a donation. You're actually buying stock in the company, because at the end of the day, as the legacy media falters, somebody's going to replace it. It will be what I do. We just happen to be the only player. So rather than go to the institutional players to get the bigger bread, I can assure you, in my world, if I went to you guys and said, okay, so BlackRock and Vanguard just funded me, you guys would all turn your heads and go the other way. They're like the enemy of this, but yet they own Rumble. Go figure.
Well, and that's why we've seen a big shift in Rumble too. I mean, a lot of people are being suppressed. I mean, it's just unbelievable. why people sell out to, you know what I mean, these companies that are really behind a lot of not good things around the world. You know what I mean? But it's the money. You know what I mean? People need the money and they sell out.
Yeah, well, in this, so I don't remember
Not you.
I don't remember how Rumble did it. I know Public Square did a SPAC, special purpose acquisition. So that's a shell that with the money, and they merge into it. The money gets raised by the brokerage firms. Brokerage firms do not deal with $500 investments. They're dealing with institutional money. So Michael Seifert didn't actually go out and try and sell BlackRock and Vanguard this. This was the brokerage firms. He just agreed to do this back to get it public. When it comes to Rumble, I would assume it was the same thing. So what I'm trying to do is eliminate them. So I'm doing this round, followed up by another one, and then followed up by a public offering. So I can't stop them from buying in the open market. But once they miss this one and this one, basically they're buying at the top of the food chain at that point. So what I'm guessing is they might go, you know what, screw this, I'm out.
Well, it's a good opportunity. And, you know, as we wrap it up today, because I've got to jump on another show in about 15 minutes, you know, I think this is a great opportunity. First and foremost, Sam, that people run it through. People are watching. They want to find out about news like in their area. I mean, so they go to, let's roll it through. They go to
yournews.com. Just make sure your city name's at the top. If you don't see it, just click change your location. It's a green button. Enter your zip code. Once you see your city name, if you want local news, you click local edition, or you mouse over local edition and click whatever you want. If you want national news, mouse over national news and click whatever you want. We've got everything. And I'm building an army of news reporters all over the United States.
And so if people that are watching and you're a journalist or you want to get into that, they go to the same, you know, address, and then scroll down, and at the bottom, so what does it say at the bottom?
Become a citizen journalist or invest. Now, if they click invest, it takes them off to that Issuance Express page, which is separate from me, but it's our page on their site. Like you could have a Give, Send, Go page.
Right.
Same thing, except this is this is a security. You're buying from a brokerage firm. So you could read about what we're doing, form your own conclusion. And if it's something you want to participate in, you just click invest, and you could spend as little or as much as you want. Doesn't matter.
Right. And so we have the link up there on that. And so it's a great opportunity. I mean, the thing is, we talked about this at the beginning for so long, you know, growing up, you know, that you just, you know, years ago, they had the 4 channels. I mean, just think about, you know, I was a little kid, you know, in some of those times, but when black and white came out, in just a matter of 50 years, you look at what's happened, you know, now they have AI and they have this and that. It's kind of like watching, like, I don't know. It's just things have exponentially happened so quickly. And so now you have something that's a niche. You've stepped into a niche, and I think it's brilliant. I mean,
void. Look, I
a
fill a
void.
And the void is going to get worse. But if I don't do this, somebody will fill this void. Look, were you on YouTube? Did you get kicked off YouTube or no?
Yeah, I did. And then, you know, trying to get back on, it's just like, I'm probably going to get back on, but it's like, you know, we're building this movie studio and this films and things, because right now I talked about it a little bit before we got on. I don't want to see a good movie on Netflix or on Amazon Prime or any of this. I want to go into the theater and literally escape and watch this huge screen, surround sound, everything. I want to have an experience. And so right now, the content, they're not putting out the right content anymore. People aren't going to their films because a lot of it was propaganda. They have an agenda that they want to put out. Look what's happening with Diddy. I mean, all these, you know, freak offs and all these different things. A lot of these people, Sam, and you guys listening, a lot of these movie stars, music, you know, people that made it to the top of the top didn't get there unless they bowed. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
They got there because they bowed. You know, the one eye thing, and I'm telling you, that's all coming down. And so it's coming into the place where we're going to be the news, that we're going to have the content that is going to change the culture. And what I call it, Sam, is the greatest show on earth. So we're going to see a renaissance.
There's 100% chance that's going to happen. And it's because how the liberals got, in charge of the, what do they call it? The nut house. Okay. And they controlled all this stuff. They literally are nut jobs, and how they controlled everything. And then what happened was they kicked the people off that are relevant, that matter.
Yes.
And so now what happens is people like me, people like you, all these different ideas spawn. And now what's going to happen is, as all these other entities collapse, who's going to be holding the cards with all the tech that replaced them? Because remember, liberals don't create anything. They destroy everything. They're not interested in,
they counterfeit and they change it. I mean, that's just like Satan. I mean, he's not the creator like God is. He just perverts it. He twists it. And he'll tell you some truth, but then he'll put a lie with it, which makes it a lie. If you put truth and a lie together, it's still a lie.
It's still a lie, right? So they're going to be in a really bad way over the next decade. So as the mainstream media collapses, and it'll be less than that, Hollywood's not going to survive that much longer. I don't even know why Trump even opened his mouth and said, we need to help Hollywood. For what? What do you think? They need to rape more kids? Is that what you need?
He was talking more about Mel Gibson and some of the people. Mel's been one of the ones that really has stood up and talked about the kids and just certain things, he said Hollywood is built on pedophiles. Elijah Wood actually said that from The Lord of the Rings. He played Frodo. He said Hollywood is built on pedophiles, but that is coming down. So listen, as we close out today, I think this is a really good opportunity, Sam, for people that are listening and just want to get some. Now, the news, because the legacy media, we know a lot of their news is like not real news. It's fake news. So who writes the national news? Journalists that you have?
While we're talking, I just got another submission for somebody to become a citizen journalist. Haven't even looked at it. I just saw a citizen journalist application come in. They come in all day, right? And those are my news reporters. But if you actually look at their bios, these are news people. These are all people. Most of them are local. Like the last one, which was right before our show that I just activated somebody, was a local news reporter somewhere. I don't remember where. Oh, it was in like Bergen, New Jersey or something like that. Okay. She worked for a local paper. She didn't have a job anymore. Right. So they have nowhere to go. And it's either this is the new age. This is how media works. You either do this or you have to go get another occupation, because it's not going to change. I mean, the monetization model. And by the way, there's some people that make a fortune in monetization models. There's some guys I watch that have golf channels, like, they'll do like a 5-minute, like I'll look up how to hit a better drive or how to putt. But these people have 3-4 million followers and they're making $2 or $3 million a year.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's all about your content. And I like the people, it seems like everybody want to know why, because they're good. They actually do a really good job. That's the reason. So you either do a good job and you get paid for it, or you do nothing. You do a crappy job and you go do something else. Find the thing that works for you. And I see, by the way, I have a lot of student journalists that are out of school that are trying to figure this out. Alex Newman became part of my company. So I just emailed him saying, look, let's do the first training class, because he wants to train these people.
I love him.
Yeah, so very soon an email is going to be going out to all the journalists. Here's what we're doing. Here's the person we have on. Here's what the discussion is going to be about. Anybody wants to join, it's free. Let him teach them.
Yeah, no, this is amazing. So anyway, as we close out, Sam, last thoughts before we end the show today.
Well, everybody in the conservative movement has, been concerned because, there's been so many bad things that have happened and we still see them. But I'm pretty optimistic on everything that's taking place, because I do believe that, now that we have the White House secured and we have adults back in the room, you're still seeing the kids whining and they're getting spanked. Eventually all this stuff is going to come to pass. I'm very optimistic on the future of news, simply because I'm the leader in that space. And as we scale this thing out, remember, 2 ways to win a war. One is through violent revolution, or the other one is through controlling information. So whatever one you want to do, I'll participate. However, this one's better. Okay. So once you control the narrative, and I don't mean it as I want to control information, I want to make sure that there's no bull BS going out. And once you've done that and you're now the next mainstream media, Meri, we got it. So I say that the future looks really bright.
Yes, I do too. Greatest show on earth. Well, listen, thank you so much, Sam, for coming on. And again, let's put up the website to go to, yournews.com. And then you just put in your zip code. You can find out what's happening locally. You can look at the national news, world news, but then you can also scroll down and become a citizen journalist, or help participate in becoming a stock, what do you call it?
Shareholder. A shareholder.
Shareholder. Okay.
Yeah.
And there's the link for that. So anyway, well, Sam, sorry, I got this little cold a couple of days ago myself.
I got one too.
Yeah, it's like yeah. So anyway, well, listen, thank you for watching. Now is the time, and thank you, Sam, for coming on. I want to get involved with that. Hey, I might become a shareholder myself. Why not?
I don't see
Right?
why not. By the way, this one, I will complete this one relatively soon. That puts me at 2 years run rate without raising a nickel, which means the next round we do, which will be shortly after, will be 5 times that number. So it'll be like from $2 to $10 because the valuation will be 5 times more. I mean, it's how this game works.
So all the people that got in at the lower number, it's going to be, they're going to be part of that too, right?
This is the time to make the money, because the next one's going to be much higher, and then the next one's going to be an IPO.
Yeah,
it's already built in. I already have that done.
Well, anyway, Sam, I got to jump on another podcast right now, but God bless you. Thank you for watching. Now is the time. Thank you, Sam. You're truly, I know that this is really significant what you're doing, because as you just said, if they control the narrative right now, we're taking back the power to the people. So God bless you. Thanks for watching. Please share this with other people, and please subscribe or follow. And if you share it with 5 people, that's really the best form of advertising, is word of mouth. It really still is. Sharing it with other people. Sharing is caring. God bless you guys. We'll see you soon.